Okay, I'm back again, Social Work Practice 1 students. And now we are moving on to Chapter 16 in our hardback textbook. The Kurt Ashman, the practice book. And we are on Chapter 16. Chapter 16 is talking about recording. That is something that we have to do. We have to document what we've done with the client, the work that we've done. Recording in generalist practice. Our learning objectives for this chapter are to recognize the significance of recording in social work, to identify content contained in records, to employ a range of recording formats, to attend to technological advances in record keeping, to strive for confidentiality in electronic record keeping, to employ good writing skills in recording, and to examine privacy principles with respect to recording. Okay, let's get going. The importance of writing in social work. You might wonder why is what we write so important in social work. One reason is that we offer a means of demonstrating professional conduct in social work. Also, we are what we write because most of the time we will not be there in person to testify about a client's problems or accomplishments, so it'll be up to our record to communicate what both us and our client has done. Writing and recording are important for social work practitioners on a daily basis. There are at least 10 specific reasons discussed in this text. One is identifying the client and the need. When we identify who our clients are and what problems they bring to us, we also provide the basis upon which we continue our work. Recording this information also makes them part of our caseload. The total number of clients social worker is accountable for in any given time is our caseload. Recording information also helps explore the nature of the client's strengths, needs, and problems while also helping us to plan and structure how we will proceed with the intervention. It assists in monitoring clients' progress and allows the agency to oversee how well all of its clients are being served. Documenting services, that's recording the work with a client. It simply provides a proof that such work has been done. You refer to your documentation to describe your assessments, your plans, your interventions, your evaluations, your terminations, and the follow-ups. Documentation also proves that you have accomplished what you say you have accomplished. It makes us accountable for what we've done. A third reason is that it maintains case continuity. It gives us access to what was done in the past so that we do not have to start all over when working with a client with a history of assistance. Accurate recording allows clients to be transferred, with minimal interruption in their service. Having documented who the client is and what has been done allows for new workers and other professionals working with the client to begin where the last intervention left off rather than starting from the beginning. Interprofessional communication means we need to communicate with other professionals that our client is also working with. Recording information about our client allows for many professionals to share this data, such as psychologists, medical staff, psychiatrists, and other therapists. Recording and sharing information in writing provides an efficient means of communicating with others involved with a client. Sharing recorded information with the client can be helpful, especially when sharing progress, because it can act as an incentive for the client to continue their progress. It can also help clarify their strengths, problems, plans, or achievements. Be aware of confidentiality laws and also about how clients may react to reading information that they were not ready for, or aware that reading information. Be aware of confidentiality laws and also about how clients may react to reading information they were not ready for or aware that may also be in the record. Facilitating supervision, consultation, and peer review is another reason for documentation for recording. Recording your perceptions and your progress will provide a means for you to get direct feedback and help from other professionals. This written presentation provides an opportunity for giving specific feedback. A seventh reason is monitoring the process and impact of service. By monitoring the effectiveness of our plans and interventions, we can organize our thinking about how to proceed with the client. Recording information about progress or lack of progress provides a clear-cut description of the client's situation at any given time. Comparing past and present records allow for measurement of the progress. An eighth reason is educating students and other professionals. Social work records can provide an excellent means for educating both students and practitioners in the field about effective interventions. When you get into field placement, you'll be able to look at other social workers' records, and that'll help educate you. Supplying information for administrative tasks is another reason for recording in social work. Both large and small social service agencies must keep track of services that they provide and how effective these services are. They must be accountable for their work and justify their existence. Administrative personnel must attend to the issues in service delivery. Providing data for research-informed practice is another reason. Records provide a means for evaluation, which in turn allows for agencies and practices to improve their effectiveness. What is the record? What is the case record? 7 major types of information are typically recorded in agency records. The first is the date of your interaction with the client. The next is basic identifying information about the client. A face sheet is common, with just a page of information placed at the front of the client file that includes the basic identifying information of your client. An example of that is on page 605 in the textbook. Do not expect one to see identical to that where you work. It's possible that it might be electronic. Reasons for client contact is another thing that you put on the agency records. What is the client's problem or situation? Why are they coming to the agency to see you for help? Another type of information is more detailed information about the client's problems and situation. Only the information that is most relevant to the client's problems, including their strengths, and which is the least significant. Agencies vary on the amount of information gathered during the intake process. The intake is the established procedure for an agency's initial contact with the client, and there are examples of an intake form on page 605, and I think I sent y'all a copy of the one that I used a while back. If y'all want me to resend it, just let me know. I don't think I've uploaded it on Blackboard. I might have, though. Social histories are comprehensive portrayals of a client's current situation, past, and developed by gathering information about the client's development, the family, their interpersonal relationships, their education and socioeconomic status. The format, there's an example on page 613 through 619 that it depends upon the agency. The social history will vary significantly in emphasis and on content depending on the age of the client and the type of the service provision. Aspects of the implementation process? This includes our perceptions concerning assessment of the client in situation, like person and environment, client in situation. Your plans for intervention, contacts you have had with the client and others involved in the case, progress made and information about the case, why the case was terminated. Each agency is different with the format. Some require fill in the blank, while others require more of a narrative quality. You'll also have follow-up information. Is there a follow-up plan? If so, who will do what by when? Comments and questions to discuss with the supervisor or another worker. And our own notations and impressions about a case, in addition to questions we would like to have answered, are also appropriate for agency records. Formats for recording. We use a wide range of recording formats for many purposes. Process recording is a specialized and highly detailed form of recording. This is what we were going to do. This is the assignment that I took out. Everything that takes place in an interview is recorded using an I said, then they said style. It's kind of like a dialogue. You're recording the dialogue between you and that person, that interaction. If the social worker writes down everything that would have been heard or observed had the interview been recorded. Most process recordings use direct quotes. The worker or student's impressions and comments are noted in a special column to the right. Next to what has just been said, you can see on page 621, there's an example of it. And it's a pretty good example. To summarize, process recordings require that you must first reconstruct the interview, 2, describe the words the client spoke and actions they took, 3, reflect on the way in which they used themselves in the interview, that you used yourself, and 4, assess their practice, your practice as a student, and number 5, name the specific skill they were using at the time. You will do these in your field placement. Process recordings are used primarily for students because it allows for you to analyze in detail your interactions with clients and allows for your field and supervisor to give you specific feedback even though they were not present when the interaction occurred. You can use audio-visual recordings can be useful. And for recording formats, this is separate from a process recording. Audio-visual recordings, you can actually video your client. It can be useful to supply us with general feedback about ourselves, how clients perceive us. A clear picture of our communication and interaction can also be seen. Recording sessions with clients can also give us specific feedback about our interviewing and problem-solving styles. 6 steps when using recording technology. First one, you must get clients' explicit permission to do that. 2, you actually do the recording. 3, write out what transpired word by word. Write a summary of the recorded session. Review your recording, the summary, and the verbatim transcript with your supervisor. Adapt what you learned from the discussion and write a report in the format your agency uses. Progress notes or case notes are commonly used during the plan change process to summarize what occurs during service provision, describe case progress, and articulate future plans and goals. They are used for many purposes, including documenting new information affecting a service provision, making changes in treatment, planning or direction, formulating termination plans, evaluating the effectiveness of treatment approaches, maintaining accountability, documenting that the worker is adhering to prescribed treatment procedures, providing data necessary for supervision or consultation, and furnishing required information to administration for decision-making purposes. In addition, progress notes may also contain a wide range of information given to clients, including dates of meetings, names of people involved, significant facts clients provide, and information given to clients about agency policy and changes in clients' life circumstances. The format for progress or case notes is also dependent upon the agency and the services provided. They can vary in length depending on their purpose. Taking notes during an interview is also important so that progress can be made over time and redundancy avoided. Key words and phrases are often just sufficient to help us trigger it when we actually get down to time to sit down and actually make a formal case or progress note. It just helps us remember essential information when it might be a day or two before we actually get to do our record keeping. Note-taking strengthens the content of the record and aids in the actual reporting process. Then we have narrative recordings. The reports that summarize the main issues addressed, plans developed, and results achieved with a client during the intervention process. They're written in narrative format, including written paragraphs using correct grammar to describe the case's progress. Summary narrative recordings are when they are used to summarize progress over a period of time. It is important to emphasize strengths whenever possible with any type of record, especially including narrative recordings. We do summaries of treatment or case conferences where we have met with other professionals that are working with the clients to discuss clients' problems, progress, and plans. It enhances, they have 4 purposes, summaries do. One is to help assess and clearly describe the client's problem. 2, it enhances the involved professionals' grasp of the client's behavior. 3, it provides an arena in which intervention plans may be formulated. 4, it affords as a medium for coordinating resources and services. Treatment conferencing summaries can provide an effective means to prepare for action with individuals and families. These summaries may be done orally or in writing or both, because sometimes you will also provide a written copy when you present it orally. Our presentation should include a statement of the client's problem or observation of the client, how we have been working with the client, the service plan to date, a summary of the results of any intervention used or service delivered, the reasons for this particular information is being shared with other workers, and specific questions highlighting the problem areas that other workers can help you answer. You also may have time to summarize the findings from the case conference. One important thing, I don't mean you may have time, you may have to summarize the findings from the case conference when you get back to your agency. One important thing to remember is to clearly specify plans and goals. Problem-oriented recordings. PORs involve using a specified format to list problems and another related format to note progress made towards their solutions. Problem-oriented recording. POR involves using a specified format to list problems and other related notes for progress made towards the solutions. POR has 4 primary components. One is the database, which is the collection of information stored digitally so that it is accessible by computers or mobile electronic devices. This may include the client's demographic information, social history, intake information, treatment plans, and progress notes. The databases can also be used for scheduling appointments sometimes, managing a to-do list, and to reduce paperwork. Databases can also be used to evaluate treatment programs, monitor trends in service provision, and to plan for future needs. The next component is problem list, can assist the client and the worker in clarifying problems and setting goals. The worker and the client should agree upon the problems the implementation will focus on and to their priority. The list of problems should be numbered. Clearly stated problems provide an easily scanned checklist that prevent focusing on only one problem. And when a problem is solved and no longer exists, it can be deleted. An example of a problem list is on page 628 in your textbook. Initial implementation plans are another component. They should be numbered to correspond with the problem number on the list, and they should be updated regularly to respond to changing client problems and needs. Progress and plan implementation discusses the frequently used format for problem-oriented recording that includes progress notes called SOAP. SOAP is an acronym for subjective information. SOAP is an acronym. S stands for subjective information, which is the client's perception of the problem and situation. It involves individual perceptions and opinions instead of established fact. This information might also be supplied by the family and other people involved with the client. Objective information, the O in SOAP, includes the facts and observations you believe are relevant to record. Any results from tests that might have been administered to the client are included, as well as objective information from your professional observations during meetings or interviews. The A in SOAP stands for assessments and progress notes, which involve our impressions about how much progress has or has not been made, our client's current condition or state, and whether the problem situation has changed or not. We need to be perfectly clear about the distinctions between our subjective impressions and objective information. An example, consider a client who meets with you with a blank look on their face, dilated pupils, and slurred speech. These specific observations are facts. We can observe a blank look on the face. We can observe dilated pupils, and we can observe or hear slurred speech. They're specific observations. They're facts. Therefore, they are included in the objective information section. However, our impression that our client is high and has taken an illegal drug is subjective judgment. They did not admit to that, they did not say it, and we did not witness it. That is subjective. That is our opinion. In your mind, you are certain that this judgment is correct, but your perception may or may not be fact. Perhaps your client is having a reaction to having taken some prescribed medication for an illness such as diabetes. On the other hand, they may have just shot up some heroin. Plans and progress notes need to be concise and accurate. They need to tell us what your next step is, what have you and your client committed yourselves to doing. Recording plans is an ongoing process. Advantages of problem-oriented recording are numerous. First, it allows others involved with the case to understand how the worker approached the client's problems. Second, it allows for focusing on one problem at a time. Third, it allows for good communication among team members because problems are clearly specified. Fourth, even when one worker leaves the agency, problem-oriented recording allows continuity of service because of clearly specified plans. Fifth, it provides a useful tool for follow-up. And sixth, it promotes clear, concise records because of its structured format and brevity, or briefness. Disadvantages of problem-oriented recording include a major one, and that is that there are no specified place to identify and focus upon strengths. A second disadvantage to the problem-oriented record involves its focus on problems without explicit identification of needs. A third disadvantage of the POR is the traditional orientation to micro and some extent macro practice, therefore ignoring macro practice altogether. There are many reasons for recording progress in groups, and two major ones include that a group leader can monitor a group to determine if its goals are being met, and a second suggestion is to use sociograms, which are diagrams reflecting how individuals relate to each other in a group at a particular point in time. Another recording format is writing letters. They're useful for conveying a level of formality and seriousness that cannot be conveyed in an email, especially if the letter is printed on agency letterhead. There are some points to remember when we are writing a letter in the textbook. In the textbook points out some things to remember when writing a letter. If you find that you're needing to draft a letter, you can find examples. And if you're needing to use the agency letterhead, there's likely a formatted letter that you can adapt to for your purposes that are there at the agency. There are examples of letters on page 636 along with 12 tips in writing letters. I'm not going to discuss those. You can feel free to read over that on page 636. Emails and memos. I'm not going to go into much detail about what an email is or the elements of emails. That can all be found on page 639 and 640 if you're not familiar with emails, but I have a feeling you are. I will say that emails are good if you do not require immediate feedback, and they're easy. But remember to always proofread your email message before sending it to check for content errors, typographical errors, and formatting errors. Some additional etiquette for sending email messages include avoid using all capital letters in the body of the message because it's considered that you're shouting and you may appear rude. I'm pretty sure y'all know that. Be cautious when using both humor and sarcasm in emails because it may not be read as such. When sending an email to a mailing list, be brief and to the point. Don't read an email that. Another point is do not read an email that was mistakenly sent to you. Instead, inform the sender and forward the email to the correct intended recipient. Remember, emails you send to someone also can be forwarded to others. And never respond to an email when you are angry. Recording in general social work practice, texting in professional settings. Guidelines include knowing your agency's policies regarding texting while at work. And this is not personal text. This is talking about texting your clients. Never reveal sensitive agency or confidential information while texting. Be careful not to link to or forward inappropriate photos, videos, or art. Avoid making any comments that could endanger your reputation or your agency's reputation. Organize your contacts list to separate business from family contacts. Avoid unnecessary chit-chat and know when to say goodbye. Be aware of jargon, slang, and abbreviations because they can be confusing and appear unprofessional. Use good grammar and proper spelling. Memos, that's another form of recording. They're also called memorandums. It usually has a to and from and the date and the subject lines. They are similar to email except they are handwritten. Plan carefully what you want to say, state the purpose, make it short, send it out early so that you have time to wait for the reply. One topic per memo, and do not write it when you are angry. And a memo can be used for documentation purposes. Recording in meetings is another potential social work responsibility. Two types of documents we should be aware of are an agenda and minutes. An agenda is a list of topics to be addressed at a meeting in a prioritized order. Minutes are compiled to provide a written record of announcements, reports, significant discussions, and decisions that have taken place during a meeting. Typical information includes the name of the group and meeting, date, place, and time the meeting was called for or called in order, time of the adjournment, names of people present, approval of the agenda, announcements, summaries of reports, motions presented, and actions taken on minutes. Summaries of significant discussions, a name and signature of person compiling minutes. Confidentiality in electronic record keeping. Be aware of current legislation concerning confidentiality. Use the NASW Code of Ethics. Refer to that when needing to know about confidentiality in electronic record keeping. Assess the level of confidentiality. Find out what protections for confidentiality that are offered by your agency. As the Code of Ethics instructs, clarify to clients the limits of confidentiality, explain who else might have access to their personal information and under what circumstances, collaborate and cooperate with staff, administrators, clients, and workers at other agencies to develop collaborative plans that maximize confidentiality, educate other professionals, care providers, and students about confidentiality with advanced technology. Writing skills and recording. Good writing skills are important for communicating effectively with an emphasis on excellent spelling and good grammar. They're necessary. Writing skills usually improve with practice. Use colleagues and supervisors as models. That can definitely be helpful. Seek out the person in the agency who has a reputation for clear communication and exceptional reports. Page 651 has suggestions for some good basic writing suggestions. Some of those suggestions include choosing words carefully, avoiding slang and words such as always, average, perfect, or all. Avoid sexist language and avoid labeling people with terms such as sleazy, strange, punks, slobs, or low class. Do not abbreviate. Be concise. A couple more include distinguishing between verified facts and your impression of facts, and proofread your written products before they go out. Okay, privacy principles. Privacy and confidentiality are important ethical principles in social work. There are 5 privacy principles mentioned in the text. The first is confidentiality, which is the ethical principle that workers should not share information provided by a client or about a client unless the client has given explicit permission to do so. That's confidentiality. Abridgment. That refers to restricting the type of information that is put into the record and the period of time over which the record can be retained. Agency policies and legal restrictions vary drastically from state to state regarding these two issues. Abridgment serves to enhance client privacy. Access refers to the client's right to see what and how information is being recorded. Client's access to records varies from state to state and agency to agency. One issue involves the concern that clients may see information provided confidentially by others that is included in the record. Another matter involves how clients reading the records might have difficulty comprehending or may resent what is said. Anonymity refers to using recorded information about clients but omitting identifying data. Security safeguards that prevent unwarranted access to records and unauthorized release of or tampering with the personal information they contain. It has been stated that the goal of social work should be to maximize client privacy while meeting the necessary demands of accountability. To achieve this, one way is to consider what information should and should not be kept in the record. Another is to establish strict policies for access to clients' electronic records and keeping hard copy files and sources of information physically safeguarded from unwarranted access. A third suggestion involves having clearly specified release of information forms and procedures. A fourth suggestion involves advocating on your client's behalf, which entails making certain that established client rights are not violated and reporting such breaches when they occur. Also, becoming knowledgeable about legal and agency constraints and evaluating their effectiveness and maximizing the protection of your client's policy is another way to keep your clients safe. That's all for this one.